I never ever wanted to be in the ministry. I never had a desire to be a pastor of any kind. I think I kind of decided that when I was in high school, and it was mostly because my dad was a pastor and we traveled from church to church to church. It seemed like we always moved. And so for that reason, and then also because people expected me, I think, to be in the ministry, I didn't want to do it. That was kind of one of those absolute things, like I'm definitely not going into the ministry because of experiences that of moving around and experiences we'd had at churches that just weren't good. And I saw some of the ugly things that happened in churches and had no desire to ever have that be a part of my life. So when I graduated college, I took a sales job. About 2 years into the job, I quit and went to another sales job because I thought that, hey, this might be better. It gives me more freedom, gives me the ability to do some other things that I want to do. But more than anything, just knew I wasn't happy where I was and needed to make a change. I worked in that job for about 18 months. But about a year into it, I came up to the DFW area for a company conference. It was February of 2007, and we came up for a conference. We were going to have a week long where we were going to talk and meet about stuff. The first night we were out, we went out to eat and went bowling, and on the way home from that night, the car that I was in flipped. My friend Nathan, who was driving the car, was killed, and the other two people were rushed to the hospital. And I walked away without a scratch. From that moment on, I began to wonder, God, what do you want from me? I wondered, why did I walk away from this without anything happening to me at all, and everybody else get hurt or was killed? That began a downward spiral of the job that I was in, and eventually I quit that job. I quit that job in the summer and really had absolutely no idea what I was going to do. And I knew that, okay, God, you spared my life and you have something for me, but I don't know what that is. And so I began to ask, God, what do you want from me? But I wasn't really totally willing to be obedient to Him. During that time, I actually went to Africa and just kept going, God, what do you want? God, what do you want? And in the process of being in Africa, I was able to say, okay, God, whatever you want from me, I'll do it. It was then that He said, okay, thanks. I just wanted you to be obedient. He'd been preparing me from all those things that had happened to be where I am now. During all that time in those jobs, every time that I would call my parents, every time that I would come up and visit, every time I would come to Grace, I would hear stories of what God was doing. I would hear stories of all these lives that were being changed. I would hear stories of people who had no hope, who now had hope. Just story after story of how God was at work in Wise County. And it was really cool. I would sometimes just call home to hopefully hear another story. And I wanted to be in a place where God was at work and was doing big things. So that's why I landed here at Grace. And I'm thankful. I can't express how cool it is to be at a church that you can see God working in.